Hello, and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Shariann.
So let's start with pest check-in. Shariann, go first.
Okay, so physically, I am a 8.7, emotionally 9, spirit 9.2, hope 9.3, and my word for this moment is delighted. Your turn.
Okay, physically, I am an 8.3. Emotionally, I am an 8.75. Spiritually, an 8. And hope is an 8.75. And my word is scattered.
Mm. I like when we get to just be where we are and who we are.
Yeah, that's exactly what Pesh does for us. It really, I mean, that's why it's probably one of my favorite tools. It's so grounding. And when we start, recording these episodes, it means I don't have to fake it.
Right, right. It is a great grounding tool, and we can have a whole podcast about that. But I think today we wanted to talk about why we're an authority um, for cancer coaching, and
hmm
then really specifically cancer journey coaching, which we've coined and we created.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cancer coaching gets like really broad, right? And because there's so many different elements that go into just the experience of cancer, like obviously what people think of the most is like, going to a medical center and working with doctors and figuring out what treatment works best for you. If there's a trial specifically for you, like there's that whole category of it. There's like nutrition and physical health and exercises and stuff like that. But what we really focus on and what we call the cancer journey is very much the emotional aspect of it, mental, emotional, spiritual, that bleeds into all of these things as well. And I think of it kind of as like a cloud. It can feel really ethereal and it can sometimes feel more like a fog, even. And it can be really hard to hold on to because it is intangible. So I think that it's honestly such a big gift that we are able to approach that part of it and help people as they move into, all the other categories and hopefully lighten that fog that they're in.
Right. I like that you described it that way because it's so ethereal. Like we can't touch it. It's like, well, what do I do with it? It's here, but can I have an impact on it? And what I want to say is yes, because it is part of the journey. And that's why I know there's a lot of people who come up to me and say, Shariann, I don't like that word journey. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to adopt it, but there is for lack of another word, there is this pathway that you're on, and yet that pathway is your own. So I like the word journey because it has a little more nuance to adventure
hmm
or, the unexpected, because those are the things that the cancer experience definitely is.
hmm
And why we focus on that part is because that's the part that I couldn't understand when I
hmm
was going through my many cancer journeys. And I specifically asked my oncologist, even straight up on the first one, it was like, okay, tell me what I'm going to go through. And so he was describing, the different treatments and kind of giving me a idea of what the treatments are like. And I'm like, yeah, but there's more here, right? There's not just what's going to happen to my body or what you propose is going to happen to my body if I choose this particular treatment or this other treatment. What am I going to go through as a human being?
hmm
Like, what am I going to experience from emotions and mindset and just that whole other part of me, that ethereal part that I can't go to a doctor and say, fix this.
Right, right.
Because I don't even know if I can explain it.
Right. And because it's so intangible, like there's literally nothing you can see or touch, it feels like it's so out of our hands. Like there's so much less control. And so even then I think sometimes, we put it in our back pocket and we're like, well, it's there, but it's not going to matter at the end of the day kind of when we're in a cancer experience because everything else takes precedence. And totally fair. Your health and what's physically happening, totally get that sometimes the blinders go up on everything else and you go straight for that goal. But when you really, are experiencing your life day to day, I love when you said the word nuance, like it's so nuanced, that journey. It's got highs, it's got lows, it can be, short bursts or really long stretches of time. But within all of that, like, what does the day to day look and feel like? Like, so much
Right.
more than just a singular experience. And I think that that's what the journey is. Like, it's this whole breadth with no time limit and with no boundaries really, and the experience is like all the little pockets that happen within there, the highs, the lows, everything in between. Knowing how you feel day to day, even just like hour to hour, can easily change. And so like going through something as serious and intense and scary as a cancer journey, you really want to know what to expect. It's like some days are going to be easy, some days are going to be hard, and honestly, you're probably going to question a lot about yourself, a lot about what came before, what did you do wrong, what did, all of that's going to come up. And so that's something that, like, your medical team may not be prepared to tell you in this time, and they can't assure you anything. And, they're sticking to their own code, and their lane really is just that category of like diagnoses and treatments and doctors and referrals and all of that jazz. They may not be quite equipped to tell you that you're going to question everything about your life and who you are.
And that's exactly what I wanted to know.
Hmm.
I didn't know that that's what I wanted, but it was like, I know that it's more than just my body and what the treatment is going to do to my body, because I'm more than just my body.
Hmm.
And so it almost became like this calling, but more like, I've got to make, I got to understand this. And I don't know if that was me talking to, spirit or the universe, but somehow it was like, okay, you want to understand this, you want to get this, then we're going to give you a lot of time and a lot of chances to figure it out. And I don't know if it was, no, it wasn't after the first cancer, which I was pretty much like you said, blinders up. I was the quarterback, and I was like head down running for that goalpost. This what came out of the many experiences with a cancer journey and the cancer journeys was that I wanted to know this so badly that I created the cancer journey roadmap. But it
Hmm.
wasn't a roadmap to like, okay, so treatment starts and then this is what you're going to experience from the totality, like what navigators or advocates do. We're not talking about, oh, I'm dealing with insurance and blah blah blah. No, this one was very specific to the inner workings of me, and I'm really proud of what we created. And the cancer journey roadmap has been tested and traveled by everyone we work with, and it's this, and it is not the same, it is predictable.
Hmm.
Everybody is going to go through what is there, the stages and the phases. And we'll do another podcast where we go more into that. We also have our workshops that go into that in more detail. But I wanted to get underneath the, like, what is this about and what we get from it, and what's the benefit for knowing? Because I was on such a mission to understand for myself because it was driving me crazy. And
Hmm.
I'm just going to say one more thing. It's like, if you remember that movie, A Walk to Remember, I think with Mandy Moore and I forgot the name of the guy,
Shane West.
Shane West. But at the they talk about love, and we're talking about, just how we feel is very ethereal. That, and I remember at the end he goes, I know it's here because I could feel it. It's like the wind or the breeze that blows on me. I know it's here. I could feel it, but I can't
Hmm.
grab onto it. And that's what I felt like. Everything inside of me was happening, but I can't take it out of my body and go, see this? This is sadness.
Hmm.
Or this is what it feels. I mean, I could try to explain it, but only I had the experience of what I was going through. And so it was like, what do I do with this?
Yeah. So two things come up for me. Your five bouts were your own little research project. You're like, and we're going to collect all of this data because it's not the same each time. You're like, I didn't
No.
need five different case studies from different people. I am my own case studies to do this research and have this experience and be able to share what I've learned throughout all of those with everyone. And then the second thing that comes up for me is that it's really easy to dismiss all of this emotional, mental, spiritual stuff because we can't see it, because it's like the wind and we can't touch it or taste it. And like those senses aren't there. So it feels like they almost don't exist. But like I said earlier, it's that fog, it's that cloud that is around us. So all of that, like nutrition, physical, like exercise health, and like the insurance stuff, figuring out when your appointments are, like that takes a lot of cognitive functioning and it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to really have to like build yourself up to do these things, which like innately I'm certain that no one really just wants to do. Like the minute
Yes.
you're told you have a cancer diagnosis, you have, or someone you love has a cancer diagnosis, this list pops up of
Yes.
all these have tos that are covered in this layer of like, I really don't want to. Like that's kind of
Right.
an unavoidable layer. It's not like, oh, I got cancer, now I get to figure out insurance. Like no one's excited about that. So what this emotional like cloud that can be a fog or can be many different forms of how it's covering um can really make it easier or harder to pursue, whatever success looks like in each of those other more tangible categories to someone. So like if I was dealing with insurance, which no one ever wants to, and I really don't want to do it, and I'm just like trying to grit my teeth and get through it, if my emotional state is also very negative at that time, that's going to be even harder. Or if I don't know that there are other resources that even let me just like let off that steam and be like, I don't wanna, and then be like, okay, and now I can do it. Or being able to just communicate what you really like emotionally need at that time, even if it's just asking for help. Um, all of that cloud, that fog, it affects how we're able to go about our healing and our duties on a lot of different levels. So, I mean, I
Right.
think that's such an important part is that we can lift that fog when we express those emotions and acknowledge those mental spaces that we're in, to be able to alleviate some of the stresses that come with the needs, the have tos of cancer.
Absolutely. Because I think, I mean, as much as our body goes through with cancer, and then the treatment on top of that, which is more than really we want to bear, but it
Mhm,
is what happens.
mhm,
It is the other parts of us that I hold as just as important, the emotions and the mental, which is like a lot of it is mindset, and those two elements there are becoming much more um, talked about
mhm,
in in the world right now, but still it's still so nebulous and not in depth. So it's like, okay, let's talk about emotions, but who's going to teach us how to be with all of the emotions?
mhm,
It's not like we go to emotions class. Right. Well, yeah, which is why we do what we do. It's like we are an education company. So we're teaching and we're also guiding.
mhm,
So we kind of play this dual purpose because emotions are individual. How I feel sadness and express sadness is different from how you're going to experience it. So it needs to be so customized and individual. But
Mhm.
also that whole mindset of um, fear, which is a really big, it's a big emotion, but there is a mindset that goes with it, right? It's the fear story. It is what the way we speak and the way we treat ourselves. I mean, just it's all wrapped up together in the mind, and then it kind of comes out through our words and our actions. That's oh my God, that's such a big part. Now, how do you be with all of that?
Mhm.
Then we add in the other part, which is the spiritual, whether that is your sense that you're connected to something larger, or just simply your inner spirit. Like,
Mhm.
who am I? Am I aliveness today? And oh, my body feels like it's a 3, so my spirit just went plummeting down with that. Or could be the opposite. My body feels really crappy today, but my spirit is still very hopeful. So, what do I do with that? And that, I mean, when I'm talking about it, it feels like this big swirling ball that is like, what the heck do I do with this?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot because all those parts are again so intangible. And so, I mean, I think that's why it's really beautiful that we have like the cancer journey roadmap that does show a pathway for this journey and the general pathway for many journeys. It's based off of a lot of research. But it's continuous, it's constant. The ups and downs will always happen, but so will transformation. It'll always happen to some degree. And so there is a lot on our roadmap that allows people to really have trust and faith that this will continue to move forward. This will continue
Right,
to like grow. It doesn't give you a specific time rate. It doesn't tell you exactly where you're going to go because it really depends on the individual and not necessarily how much they're willing to like work at it, but willing to open their eyes and be aware of it and have that desire to move forward. And some people, they get stuck at that low point. We call it the pit. Sometimes they get stuck for a while and it feels like a long time that they're in the pit, but there are certain things that can happen and certain things that you can welcome into your life that help lift you. And sometimes it's just seeing the map that really lets people know that there's hope. There's hope and transformation will come. Your allies will come. You'll find your breakthrough and you still have impact.
right, right. Absolutely. I mean, it's like any map. I mean, now we have GPS, but that's still a map. All right. And so you're watching it as you're going along and it's saying, okay, what I love about GPS right now is they give you like options. It's like, do
Mhm.
you want to go this path or you want to go this path or this path? And that's kind of the decisions that we make all along any pathway, any place that we're going. We may know the end goal that we desire, but there's so many different routes.
Mhm.
And in the routes, I mean, it's what I love about GPS right now is they go, things are going to slow down here because
Mhm.
there's traffic, or here's the shortcut. And not that we're giving the shortcuts. We're there to help guide our clients through to find their most direct route or their shortcuts, or to be with them when they're in traffic, when it
Mhm.
slows down and they're just sitting there for, however the amount of time. I
Yeah.
I really I now looking at it from that standpoint, I really love that we put that together. And it was again more of a calling than a lot of forethought, like, oh, I'm going to create this and everybody's going to use it. It's more like I needed to make sense of it.
I
Yeah.
love that metaphor of the map. I think that's the first, or the like GPS. I think this is the first time that you've really told me, or I've heard about seeing the journey as like, you know, Google Maps or Waze or whatever app you use because so many elements are coming to mind. I'm like getting excited. Like, the way that it like reroutes you, like you veered off course, it's gonna find its way back and it's gonna bring you back to where you need to go. Or, now there are like alerts like, oh, there's like a speed monitor coming up, be careful, or traffic slowed, or there's a car pulled over the side, and so the app, the GPS, that's your coach. That's your coach being like, okay, this is coming up, just wanting to let you know. Or like, okay, so we've taken a turn here. You're not wrong. You're never wrong. But let's like make a U-turn, come back. Or you know what? Let's take this street and go a slightly different way. But yeah, your coach is your guide, and they give you a lot of different routes and a lot of ways to get there. And even as the person who is going through that course, sometimes at a certain point, you're like, I don't need the GPS, but it's always there to support me. Like, sometimes I'll be somewhere new and I don't know how to get out of there, but once I get to a certain point, I know exactly how to get home, or I have a preferred route of getting back to home. And so, oh, that metaphor is just like blowing my mind right now.
Well, well, when you say home, it's yourself. It's
Yes.
coming back to the real you, the authentic you that's always there,
Hmm.
but it gets all congested and buried and we get lost. Oh, I'm really loving this metaphor and going with it. But that is what's unique about us, the Cancer Journey Institute, and what we do and our version of coaching, which is the depth that we go right now. Like, for instance, GPS has been around for a long time, but it didn't, like Waze, which is one of the ones that I use a lot, is it tells me what's coming up. We didn't have that. And so having a cancer journey coach along with you as you're going through your journey and your pathway, it's like, oh, they're there to help me maneuver through, but also to let me know, oh, I'm about to hit the pit.
Hmm.
Okay, so just be aware. And so, how do we want to, because they're kind of partnering with their clients, to go through this? And they have extra knowledge, they have extra tools and training to help you through. Oh, love this analogy.
Yeah. That feels so good because um there's a lot of knowing. I mean, technology is really, it's gotten really sophisticated these days, and so there's a lot of knowing and a lot of flexibility in it, and I love how reflective that is of our coaches and how they're able to really guide anyone wherever they are, even if they already know, right? Like when you're getting close to home, you kind of already know the path, but you can continue to have this guide, and maybe you'll find something new, like a new path, a new direction, even around something you already know. Maybe you have to stop and get something on the way and you want to add a stop, but you can always come back to, like, it's I love this analogy. It's so good. And it's so much more than just, I mean, obviously we have the roadmap. We see it as a specific map. And so often when you say the word map, you think of just this stagnant page. But there's so much more and more nuance to it. So really, we're like a maps app.
Yeah, okay. So, whew, one more thing to add, okay, or two. So what my experience is that cancer is truly a journey of change. But other than that, it's also, so I'm going with the C words. There is a calling. So it's either whatever the call is for the individual, that's discovered along the way. And so I want to say for our viewers that yes, getting a coach is what we highly recommend, and our coaches are well trained and certified. But we have the book that was written all about this cancer journey roadmap in the version that we're talking about, and that's why we didn't get into the specifics because everything is in here. But it is a calling, and if you're willing to answer that call, then you can reach out to us in so many ways. Our website is thecancerjourney.com, and everything that you need to know about is there. But also, you can just go on Amazon and buy the book just to be your guide along the journey. And it doesn't have to be while you're on the journey, though it's super helpful for that. It is even after your treatment
Mhm.
journey, and also for caregivers, because they're on that pathway also, and some oftentimes they're lagging behind their beloved patient. So it's full service. What can I say? I'm so proud of it.
And it's just a really good resource to have on your own. I know for some people it's really difficult to literally ask someone else, like another individual, for help, or to really feel like you can trust someone to get help from them, you know? Like, as much as we talk about this and love and support and lift up and trust our coaches, we're all relative strangers outside of the community. And as you're coming into the community, it can be really scary to trust someone without really knowing. And so sometimes I think the entry point of having that book and really getting to know what we're about through there is a huge resource for people who they're just getting started.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's pause here. What's your takeaway and word for right now?
My takeaway is that the Cancer Journey Institute is just another like map app to help guide you back to you, bring you back to yourself. That call, that cancer, the call of cancer. um it really is a call back to yourself, to home. And um I love that perspective, because it's something that we know, and we can easily feel lost when we're just trying to come back to home. And so there's so much support that we offer, and I think that we change the way that people view cancer and the whole experience of it. And I'm really grateful to be able to offer that to people. And my word is map app.
Yes, and um, my takeaway, what was coming up is how customized we have to be, because every individual is different. And this is not something that you can just plug in AI. I mean, I don't foresee it happening, if ever, because every individual's experience is different. So I can have lymphoma and another person can have lymphoma. We can have the exact same diagnoses, and we could be on the same treatment, and it will be totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So those nuances can only be done with a human, not
Yeah.
with any kind of, I don't want to say robot, but I can't think of anything else in this moment. It takes the human to really be in service for the individual
Mm-hmm.
that is the client. And my word is, which makes me so delighted again. So I started with delight, and now my word is purposeful.
Mm.
I feel on purpose.
Yay!
I
This was
know. It's like,
I feel like so bright right now. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode with us, and letting us be real with you. Um, New episodes come out every Friday, so we'll see you next week.
bye for now. Have a lovely day.